Daily activities, such as buying coffee, may seem like it takes a big bite out of the wallet. However, owning and maintaining a car does so quietly at a much larger cost. Transportation for many people tends to be a major killer of wealth, as vehicles such as cars are very much associated with societal status. It puts pressure on people to own an expensive car when they can't afford one. Prices of used cars went up even further in 2024 and made owning a car even less justifiable. For many, the monthly car payments have risen above $1,000 and increased the financial burden more than ever. Quite often, people don't really notice how much money it takes to keep a car because it's viewed as a commodity. However, a closer look at these costs shows how much they actually get in the way of building up wealth accumulation. Breaking down the costs of car ownership reveals there are a number of key contributors: depreciation, taxes and fees, financing, fuel, insurance, and repairs. Each of these components adds up to the overall cost of owning a vehicle, so over time, it can sometimes get surprisingly expensive. The average cost of operating and owning a vehicle in 2024 was approximately $12,200. Depreciation, however, is one of the biggest expenses. Most cars lose value instantly when driven off the lot. It is for this reason that buying a new car is rarely the smartest financial decision. By buying a car that is only slightly used, usually in the 3 to 5 year range, buyers are able to dodge the steepest depreciation while still acquiring a relatively new and reliable vehicle. The value of making informed decisions regarding depreciation really shows rather quickly that transportation can devastate wealth if not handled carefully. Besides depreciation, though, added are other costs not avoidable, taxes especially, but registration fees and financing also. These certainly do seem like unavoidable costs, but families often can substantially reduce their expenses by paring down the number of cars they own. Also added to that is financing, which most people cannot afford to pay up front. Instead, many people resort to borrowing money, which again accrues interest payments. With increased interest rates during the past few years, financing a car raises thousands of dollars as part of the final costs of the vehicle. Such rates are even more exclusive for those with poorer credit scores, making the high price of owning a car yet much more expensive. That shows how financing can silently add to the cost of transportation, and how important it is to consider alternatives such as downgrading to an affordable car. Ongoing expenditures, such as fuel and insurance, which may be usually overlooked in the initial decision-making process, can contribute a lot to one's monthly expenditure. For example, fuel for a regular car costs more than $12,000 for a 5-year period based on an average of fuel prices. And besides, fuel prices are foreseen to further increase in the coming years. The sad thing is that many drivers just don't consider these costs when planning a budget for their vehicles. People tend to budget merely for the vehicle itself, taking into account only car payments without accounting for the regular expense of fuel. Insurance premiums are definitely another continuing expense that can take a lot out of one's budget. Thank goodness this is something negotiable, and it's always worth shopping around to get a better deal each year. These costs are regularly reviewed and renegotiated, meaning that the car owner is not paying 1 penny more than necessary for the same coverage. This is a good example of how small ongoing costs, unless periodically checked, often add up over time and make car ownership more costly than expected. In addition to the regular expenses, major financial costs of vehicle ownership include maintenance and repairs. While many of these are unavoidable, costs can be minimized through more hands-on involvement. For example, basic procedures learned such as oil changes, or alternatively using free online diagnostic tools, will save the motorist hundreds of dollars over time. The ability to solve minor problems by an owner saves him from unnecessary trips to expensive repair shops. Simple steps taken, such as when the check engine light comes on, having a diagnostic tool will save costly visits to the dealership for small problems. Taking these proactive measures not only saves car owners money in the short run, but also gives them a greater degree of control over the long-term costs of maintaining a vehicle. The ultimate solution for those who actually wish to save might be not having a car at all. Though this might not be possible with everyone, depending on living distances from work or the use of public transport, it will reduce transport costs drastically. Not owning a car at all means one is able to save more than $10,000 annually, which he or she can invest elsewhere or use in the building of personal wealth. For instance, if one took that money and invested it in some stocks like Microsoft in 2018, by 2023, they would have almost tripled their investment. This is not financial advice. Please keep in mind, we are not financial advisors or experts. These videos are for educational purposes only. Such an example shows the opportunity cost of owning a car. The money spent on vehicle expenses could have earned higher value elsewhere. While not everyone can make that switch, finding alternative methods to reduce car needs when the financial benefits are so significant is something worth considering. Smart choices on all fronts are the keys to smart car ownership. Purchasing a used car at the right point on its depreciation curve could save literally thousands of dollars. Shopping for insurance regularly and negotiating a better rate will keep the month-to-month expenses as low as possible. Reduce the number of vehicles in a household or live closer to work for the most minimized costs possible. Finally, learning basic car maintenance and avoiding unnecessary repairs can go a long way in cutting costs by a large amount over time. With all these different ways of managing to save money fully comprehended, their instigation is followed by a more considerate approach toward car ownership and the evasion of that trap that is always financially crippling so many regarding transportation expenses. They can preserve more of their income, allowing it to be invested in ways that help build wealth over time.